So they officially merged the U.S. military with the Israeli military. And for those of you that can't see the writing on the wall, in my opinion, there's only one reason why they would push so hard for this to happen. See, they're fully aware that the U.S. service members won't take to the streets and start slaughtering their own people. But when you merge two militaries together, it's quite easy to just fly the IDF over here to the U.S. streets and do just about anything and kill just about anyone that the U.S. government wants unalived. And if you think that they're going to release the weapons out of the armory in the U.S. military bases and tell these people that they can go defend their country against the IDF, who happens to be slaughtering those service members, family members, you've got another thing coming. These people have the keys to the bombs and the guns and the ammo and the equipment that would be used by U.S. service members to defend the American people against the IDF here on home turf. And if you don't think that the IDF is bloodthirsty and would love nothing more than to kill Americans, you don't know anything about what's going on in the world around you. And I think that's part of the reason why we got here, is because so many people just believe that our greatest ally really does love Americans and Christians and all these other things. But these So they officially merged the U.S. military with
Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Kirkadash, and give double honors to our apostles and elders, great millstone. I want to say shalom to all the Akim, my dad preaches his truth. And our true city is a brother Ertazim Kobar from the GMS Miami. The hairs of Yahweh Shai, 144 came back with another revealed through spirit. And I played a little bit of that clip. Matter of fact, I think it stopped at a 2-minute mark. I'm going to replay it. Or did it already finish?
To find of Israel, it didn't exist until the 1940s. People are just lazy. They refuse to go find factual information, and they just gobble mainstream news information up as if it's gospel. But one thing is for sure, we have one of the most capable, most equipped, and most armed civilian population, dare I say veteran population, in the entire world. We've got 100 years of experience of winning war after war after war, and I know that some of these aren't considered actual wins, but the battles themselves, every time we set foot on a battlefield, U.S. service members seem to come out on top. If there's one thing I can stress to everybody as you go about your day today, whatever you may be doing, it's time for you to start legitimately training yourself, because they will be sending these people door to door to find you for anything that you've said, liked, shared, even in private messaging, that is anti-IDF, anti-genocide of the Palestinian people, anti-merger of U.S. military and Israeli military. They will hunt down every single one of you. And my plan for today, at least, is to hop on this here mower. I'm going to get out here and mow myself a clean spot. I'm going to set up my targets, and I'm going to start training like I do a few times a month. As much as I don't want to spend the money on ammunition, I'm not left much of a choice, because I can be better with my tools of the trade. I'm old. I'm in my 40s. I've still got some fight left in this dog. But you should know that this is and was and always will be the plan of these people that have captured our nation. They've officially merged our military, so there is the only roadblock that was standing in front of the IDF's door-to-door campaign that is going to come. With the mergers of the military, they're going to use some of the U.S. service members that would take the orders of going door-to-door and killing or arresting and throwing into concentration camps. They'll use some of the U.S. service members that are willing. The ones who aren't are going to be ejected from the U.S. military. They're going to fly over the IDF over here. They're going to give them vehicles, enough ammo to do their job, and they're going to cleanse this country just like they did Gaza, just like they're trying to do with Lebanon, just like they're trying to do with Iran. So my advice to you is buy more ammo, and actually take your lazy, fat, useless ass out and start fucking training. Because I promise you, whether you're fat, lazy, or whatever, you can still squeeze a trigger, and we're going to need everyone capable of doing this in the near future. Good luck, folks. Happy.
Yeah, once again, first films give all praise to Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai Bahashim, Kakadash, the owners, top apostles, the elders, great millstone. All the say Shalom to the Akim out there, preacher of truth, with the brother Talvin Kabar from the Gymnast Miami camp. I'm back with another video. And before I start the video, I want to touch upon the true names of their father and son. Start with their father, who they so-called call God. The true name is Yahweh, which his name means he saves, he delivers. And the true name of his son, all right, who they even call Jesus Christ, or Jesus Christos in Spanish, which is Jesus Creole in Creole. True name is Yahushua, which his name means he saves, he delivers. He's about to do according to prophecy. Yeah, I just want to make sure that video kind of played out. I think it had stopped. I played a little bit. It had stopped, but just to show you, all right, they supposedly passed a bill through the House that has something to do with merging or working directly with Israel, as far as military-wise, and they have a more influence within the military, something in some sense, if I'm not mistaken. All right, and a lot of people, and it's not the only place where I've seen it. I've seen a couple articles and all over social media today, but you got a lot of patriots or Americans, all right, so-called white Americans, raging and pissed off. And if I was a regular smash Joe Edomite, I'd have been pissed off too. Or especially if you are in the military, or wasn't in the military, and you it's like it said it had run out of space and it had cut off. But like I was saying, I'd have been mad if I was a regular Joe and seeing where my so-called country is headed for. All right, because right now, all right, it looks like Israel is just swallowing up America. All right, moving in its favor. All right, America is like on a dog leash towards them, and that's going to eventually also lead towards the prophecy of the least of the flock shall dry them out. All right, if you got a hand in their military saying that you're going to be able to, all right, sway and move these men how you want to, and their mindset is to take over these certain lands in the Middle East, and the whole Greater Israel project and stuff like that, and then we're paying close attention to these things and see where this is going, and also making a mention into our people, the so-called Negroes, Latin American, the true people of Israel, of what's going on. All right, yeah, we're for it. We're for prophecy, but certain things, all right, could be upsetting, especially if you don't understand what's going on. All right, so call on Yabashim Moshe. Everything's moving to the will of prophecy. All right, and it says, I'm gonna bring this out real quick. 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 11. That says, "Should get an advantage of us, for we're not ignorant of his devices. We're not ignorant of his devices." And all right, we're peeping it. We're seeing what he's eventually trying to do. All right, the guy in the video is talking about, if this were to happen, or something like this were to pass, or if it did pass, all right, their whole possible things that may happen is like IDF soldiers and Israel soldiers come over here and start taking out Americans and stuff like that, which if that were to be the case, we understand who they really want to come up against. All right, they really want to come up against the men of the Lord. All right, those who are standing on highways and byways blatantly and great boldness, all right, exposing Esau for who he truly is, and constantly, putting ourselves up, saying, Yahweh Hashem Shai is our power. We're the true people of Israel, and that we're going to go back in that homeland. All right, and saying that the people right now in the homeland are the identity thefters, or they got the inheritance by paper, and I like to call it artificial. You have AI, artificial intelligence. They got the inheritance by I like to call it artificial inheritance. All right, because they didn't get it by the will of Yahweh Shemashah. We understand through prophecy that we're going to be set over there by Yahweh Shemashah, eventually slaying down our enemies, coming with those chariots, putting down our enemies, taking the crowns, and eventually he putting us in that land, not by no Balfour Declaration. All right, that's what we call them, 1948ers. Okay, so yeah, we're paying close attention to these certain things. All right, because Esau is trying to move slick. All right, he's trying to move like that snake. Well, we are paying attention and making warning to our people. All right, that's why it's important to watch, stay up on watch, and pay attention to what's going on, so these things don't come at you like a stray. Isaiah 59 verse 19 it says, "So shall they fear the name of the Lord from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. When the enemy shall come in the flood, the Spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard against them." And hey, we eventually know that, all right, he's gonna try to spoil, come door to door, and try to grab up the prophets in tribulation 10 days and cast us into prison. We're not ignorant of these certain things. You know, the Lord already put us up on game. All right, and we ought to stay firmly, all right, through the spirit party. I watch him, I stay strong. Okay, because this is a whole agenda. He wants to eventually make us the bad guys. In all reality, we're the good guys. All right, we want peace on earth. All right, we tired of this devil. All right, rape, rob, and murder, and nobody standing up for something. All right, people tweet, post this, comment this all damn day, but nobody's really standing on anything. All right, who's gonna stand up for righteousness' sake? Okay, and that's the prophets. Matter of fact, let me grab that. Somebody Psalms 94. 16, it says, who will rise up for me against the evildoers? Who will stand up for me against the workers of iniquity? And that's really, all right, the elect members, all right, the prophets. All right, those are the people that's going to stand up, all right, and cry inside for the abomination being done in the midst thereof. Let me get that too in Ezekiel chapter 9. It says, Ezekiel chapter 9, verse 4, and the Lord said unto him, and go through the midst of the city, the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the man that sigh and cry for all the abomination that be done in the midst thereof. And to the others he said in my hearing, go ye after him through the city and smite, and let not your eyes spare, neither have you pity. Slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children and women, but come not near any man upon whom is the mark. Begin at my sanctuary, then they begin at the ancient men which were before the house. All right, so the men of the Lord are going to get that mark of exemption. All right, they're going to be preserved. All right, when the times of judgment come. All right, all the way up to those nukes. All right, they're going to be exempt from, the judgment that's going to come on these people. All right, because they're crying aloud, sparing not. All right, about the abomination that Esau is doing upon the earth. All right, which is making us enemy number one. Stop, mic on. All right, which is making us enemy number one. All right, don't be surprised. We are wanted by the FBI and all these high agencies that Esau have. He's paying close attention, but eventually he's strategically trying to figure out how he's going to lay hands on us. All right, but once again, we are made aware. Revelation 2, verse 10, fear none of those things which shall thou suffer. Fear the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that you may be tried, and you shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. All right, and that's the key word, be faithful. All right, we understand former prophets of aforetime were cast into prison, but the Lord have prevailed them and saved them from their situation. How much more of us in these times? So, as we constantly see what's going on. So let's continue to be on watch. All right, stand firm in Yahweh Shemashai, and cleaving on to him more and more as the evil days draw nigh. Okay, speak to myself first and foremost. Lord, if it's edifying, give all praise to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, and Kakadash. Give the honor to our apostles and others great millstone. Also say shalom to all the Akim there, but there's truth, now truth, sincerity, on Sabbath. And once again, slack because the video had cut off at the infant, saying I had no much storage. Shalom.